Now, you guys should know by this point that if I make a video on Bitcoin, then that means that I expect something big to happen. So today I'm going to give you guys an update on Bitcoin, sort of my perspective, what I think you guys should be looking at, just an overall market Bitcoin overview, just seeing what's going on, where I think things are going to go. And before I get into this video, I just want to say this is not financial advice. Do your own research. This is purely just, educational or entertainment purposes only, and I'm just telling you guys my view and my opinions on the current market. So anyways, let's get right into the video. So we saw this Bitcoin breakout after my last video, where obviously, we saw tax day, and then after tax day, or even a little bit before tax day, we did see a pretty big breakout from 7,000 up to 8,000. So we saw some pretty big moves with Bitcoin. We've seen this really green market, a lot of altcoins recovering, and with that, we've seen some really nice higher lows from Bitcoin here. So obviously we saw this low down here, and then we continued to see some really nice highs and pumps, and more volume getting into the market. Then we created this new low down here. Then we saw, these corrections over here and these movements. We created another support right here. And then now this is where we are. We retested the high at around 10,000. That's really our big resistance right now. And then we're coming back down to the support at around 8,850. So in my opinion, 8,850 is a very important key point for Bitcoin right now. And I'll explain that throughout the video. But one thing that we can just say for now is that if we do break 8,850, then we will be breaking, this good series of higher lows that we've been having. And personally, I was hoping that this right here would be a new higher low, and we would just continue this uptrend, but in a little bit different way. This was our previous trend here. That's why we saw some, buy pressure at around this point. And then we saw it dip, down to just under 9,000. We saw some buy pressure. At this point, I thought we were fine. I thought maybe we were going to enter back into a green market and we would retest 10,000 again. But sadly, today we did see a pretty big sell-off, and that has resulted in this retest of the support. So that's one thing I've been looking at. Personally, I have exited Bitcoin. I'd been exited from Bitcoin since around this level because I thought this was very dangerous here, and I already didn't like where it was headed. So now I want to point out some things that are sort of on the longer term chart. And one thing I really want to talk about is obviously historical data. So we see here in the market that, we've seen this massive dump. We saw this support, very large support here. And then we saw, a slower retest of that support. This is called an Adam and Eve and is generally a bullish pattern. And so then we did see this recovery move, this little correction after the large sell-off, which was to be expected in my opinion, especially with tax day and tax season ending right around the end of this wedge. So you can see the stock RSI here, right as we get down this, retest right here. We had this really nice oversold stock RSI on the 1 day, and then we did see that move all the way up, and now we are headed back down. So what I wanted to point out is if you guys do go back to the 1 day chart back in 2014, whenever we did see this previous Bitcoin pump, we did see that we saw a very similar thing, first of all. So we had, this massive dump down to this level, and then we had the slow retest of that support. So we had almost the exact same thing. We see, generally an Adam and Eve pattern, although it's not as nice as it is this time around. So you do see an Adam and Eve pattern, and then you do see that as this, Eve ended right here, we did see once again, we saw this oversold 1 day stock RSI. Then we saw this upwards move, which is very similar to what we have right now. Oversold RSI, upwards move with the stock RSI. And then we saw, this pretty high level. We saw this retest of a major support at around 700 in 2014. And then we saw this point where we were getting, we were having a little correction from testing 700. And then we had this oversold RSI again. So this is where people become really optimistic. They think, okay, we're just going to continue this upwards move. We see this oversold stock RSI. But, as you can see, we are going for a very similar situation in this market. But if you do look after this move right here, we saw, a very minor correction after this oversold RSI, and then we just saw a continuation of the downtrend and an overall, dump from Bitcoin as it does go downwards after that. So overall, what I'm taking from that is that we are going to be experiencing once again a very, very similar situation in this market. And already from what I've seen, it is generally following almost the exact same pattern as before. And we do really want to be careful in this situation. We definitely want to make sure that we do break some sort of major resistance before buying back in. In my opinion, I think, we are going to correct farther on the short term. So I think we're going to get down to around, 8,000, maybe, 8,500 around those levels. And then a little bit longer term, I think we will eventually retest one of these levels. I think maybe 9,500 is a good point, in my opinion, that I will be, thinking we're going to get to. And then I think we're going to continue the downtrend. At least that's what the previous historical data says. Now, obviously, what point do I think you guys should buy back in? If you guys have sold at this point, which I personally have, I would definitely recommend selling because of this short-term pattern. But even if you do think that Bitcoin is still bullish, I would personally recommend selling at this point and then only rebuying if we do retest this resistance at 10,000 and then end up breaking 10,000. I think that's definitely the only major turning point for Bitcoin at this point. And although you may miss out on a little bit of profit, that's really the only way to stay safe in this market, especially with, how much volume and how much volatility is going on right now. Something interesting we do see now is that Bitcoin, really has picked up some volume. After this pump here, we really have seen some more improved volume at these lower levels. And we're seeing a downtrend in volume once again as it is correcting, which is also a bullish, thing. So there are definitely some bullish indicators here. Definitely some reasons why you should be holding Bitcoin. But personally, short term, I'm seeing a bearish Bitcoin. And then only if we break the resistance am I going to buy back in. If not, I'm staying out. I might even be opening a short if we do retest 9,500 and then fail and just continue the downtrend. I'm definitely opening a short. Anyways, guys, leave your thoughts in the comments section down below. I'm definitely interested to hear what you guys have to say. And see you guys in the next video.